Good evening, good afternoon, and for some, I don't know where you are, perhaps it's even good morning. Welcome to my workshop tonight, and let me turn on my here we go, and no, we have to turn this one off. Oh dear, stop share. I have to fix this first. My apologies, bear with me. Not there, we don't want to go there either. That was an unfortunate decision, perhaps, to stop this. No, we don't want to do this. Let's turn this off. Oh dear, here we go. All right. So now I need to open this. Now I can come back to you. And I thought this would be a little bit more professional, but there we go. Here we go. All right. Here we go. All right. If you want, and you may want to get a pen and paper, it's of course already a little late, but no worries. If you have a pen and paper, you may find that certain thoughts would be interesting for you to write down in ideas. So, welcome. I have started a new series, and if you could just mute yourself, that would be wonderful. A new workshop series, which is Peak Performance Through Human Mastery. Let me see who is not muted. Let me see, because that makes it very disturbing. Here we go. All right, here we go. All right. I wish I could get rid of this one, close this one. All right. I wish I could close this, but unfortunately I can't. All right, here we go. My apologies. All right. So tonight, the topic I will be covering is how to boost your inner resources, and I will take you from reactive to responsive. As I discussed with one of the attendees, I don't want to name names, I had been focusing in the past on subjects that were more about fear, anxiety, nervousness, stress. And being in a almost 4-week immersive course, 2 courses actually, perhaps even 8, because they were structured around 8 modules, I learned that I was not completely aligned with those subjects. And I therefore decided to focus on the things that we can change and to move towards the things that we can influence, which are boosting your inner resources, becoming more powerful than being in the reactive states of stress and fear, and working from your emotional parts. So from reactive to responsive. So what I invite you to imagine the following scenario, and then at the end to ask yourself how you would respond or would have responded if this has happened to you. Imagine that there is an important meeting coming up with a client, and you and your team are meeting for to create a new proposal, new ideas, suggestions. And there are about 10 people on this committee. So you're now meeting, so you have certain strategies that you need to discuss, certain things that must be dealt with in about 30 minutes. You are the one that gives the first suggestion. You've done your research, you got the data, you know. And one of your team members is choosing to completely ignore you and override you and take over the meeting. 15 minutes in, you're realizing time is running out, and you are taking control back and saying, guys, listen to me. I've done the research, and here's where we're at. We have only 15 minutes left. And now this person is becoming reactive, and this person is yelling at you that you are a control freak, for example, that you know everything apparently better, and that you think that this person is stupid. Now, we know that that person, was coming from a reactive state. Something in that person was triggered. I'm wondering, where would you be responding from? Reactive or responsive? The reactive one would be if you lash back out at them and dishing it back out only to regret it most likely later on, because most likely the entire meeting would be derailed. The other way to is to respond, to take a moment, take a deep breath, and think about how you can take control over this situation and to lead with grace, humility, and with superiority. Those are the split seconds that define reactive to responsive, where you are moving from the knee-jerk reaction and that response that or reaction that you may really regret to taking control over your emotions. Viktor Frankl said this: between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Yes, that split second, that's where your growth is, that's where your freedom is, and that's the moment that can change the trajectory of your life, of your career, of your relationships, because when you go and take your control back, you become superior. So here's what I'm going to talk about tonight, and the things that you'll be learning. I am going to talk about the problem, and the problem is coming from an emotional, the reactive state, which is when you are working from your limbic and your sympathetic nervous system. I'm going to also be talking about why it's a problem, as well as why it is essential for you to address it, perhaps even looking at fixing it, because you can fix these things. These are skills. These are not things that are innate and that you're born with. Some people have it and some people don't. No, this is a skill that you can learn. Then I will give you some data on it. And very importantly, I also will give you 3 techniques that I know work instantly and work incredibly well. Now, here's the thing. I cannot in 1 hour teach you things, switch you around, loosen the grip, whatever it is that you may think, in programs that you have worked on, that you have maybe reached a level of professionalism because you've repeated them so many times. I cannot undo what you have done over and over and over again. And I belong into that group. I have run programs myself that were not helping me to grow and to flourish. So in this hour, it's frankly the tip of the iceberg, which leads me to share with you that at the end, I will talk about some options, how we can work together, if that is something that would interest you. So I will go to that in a moment. So here's the thing. The one thing I want you to take out of tonight, and that is that everything is already within you. That which you are seeking is already seeking you. That is already within you. It is not something that is out there. It is not an external quality or a condition or what have you. It is something that is in you. And some of you are here because there has been a knocking, something broke down, something's not working, and it is calling you to pay attention. And when you don't pay attention, you pay in pain. That is a truth. That is an unchangeable truth. So you are here because you have been paying attention to certain things that are not quite working as well as you'd like. So let's get started and let's get working on the problem, or actually not working on the problem, but understanding the problem. So when you are operating from your reactive state, the person that responded with the attack on the other person, in this case, we assumed it was you or you imagined it to be, that person was working from their reactive system. That system is part of the limbic system, and it's from the amygdala, and the sympathetic nervous system, which is the most primitive system in our brain, and it starts developing at the age of around 6 months. It is designed to keep you safe and protected. Around 6 months, a baby starts crawling. Therefore, it has to be protective, and the system needs to alarm the body to go into a protective state, which is, when that happens, it originates actually way back in our development in pre-modern, obviously the ancient times, when we were out in the wilderness, and that was the system that kept us safe. So how does it work? When your brain perceives a real threat or an imagined threat, the brain cannot differentiate between them. It alarms the limbic system and the nervous system. What happens is that it sends all your oxygen and your blood, and your chemicals, your hormones, into your hands and into your feet to either help you to fight this threat or to help you run away towards it, defend you, freeze. Therefore, it pulls everything out of every organ, every cell, every nerve to bring it to the places where it is needed for this emergency. Now, this works fine if it is a one-time thing. But in our modern society, we are constantly in a state of stress, anxiety, fear, and panic. So we're constantly activating the system, which means what? It becomes super, super sensitive. Instead of seeing the small fire here in the corner, it imagines it to be a burning fire. And when you are in this constant state of stress, what happens? You are taking from your internal resources and you are depleting yourself. You become exhausted, depleted, low states of energy, depressed states, like the firefighter who's been on every real or false threat, constantly running out. You can't handle it. And what the other thing that happens is that you now set your alarm system to hypersensitive. The smallest noise in the dark alarms you, and you're going into full mode, and you're going into your fight, flight, or freeze. All those inner resources are sent out and creating a huge, huge imbalance in your system, your physical system, your mental and emotional system. And it gets worse. Most high achievers, on top of that, have a secret. They flip-flop and they become more and more frustrated about the flip-flop. What do I mean by that? Well, one day they show up as in perfect state, emotional state. They are in control of themselves. They're perfectly all right. And they really run the show. Everybody is leaning in on them, and they perform extremely well. The next day, something may have triggered them, and off they go, and they ending in that rabbit hole, that tailspin, where they are working out of their fast, automatic, and emotional state, the reactive brain, the limbic system, the sympathetic system. Now, when that happens, because you're in your reactive, you're in the alarm zone, you cannot think, which is why your prefrontal cortex, system number 2, the calming, slowing, rest, relax, think, pause, cognitive state is underdeveloped. So if you're constantly in here, this is underdeveloped, which is why research has shown that children who live in environments where they are experiencing trauma and fear and panic, working from here, which is why they have learning difficulties at school, because they have underdeveloped prefrontal cortexes. I don't know if that's the plural, but there it is. So that is what is causing that situation. You are constantly in that sympathetic. So the hidden cost about that is, let me let this person in. Here we go. No, you don't want to go there. The hidden cost is most professionals spend about, hello, could you please mute? Could we please mute? Okay, I will mute the person. Thank you for muting. Thank you for muting. All right. If you could please stay muted, I would really appreciate that. Very good. So, where was I? The hidden cost. So most professionals spend 80% of their day operating from system number 1, which was the sympathetic, the limbic system, especially when they are under pressure. This means that their emotions are raw. It means that they are triggered easily. And that means when you're in that state that you're not operating at your best. You cannot see what's in front of you. Most of the time, you have elevated blood pressure. You are lacking oxygen because you're holding on so tight that the lack of oxygen is affecting your brain, literally affecting your brain. And instead of seeing opportunities, you're seeing challenges on your way, in your way, instead of seeing them as opportunities, which is causing them to not be as effective as they can be. Now, I experienced this just recently, and it was as part of my breakthrough in the course that I took, the 2 courses that I took. The second one, my master's degree in NLP, in positive psychology, and in timeline therapy, which, by the way, is amazing. So we were asked to take a board, and it's a board like this thick, this big, and we were to write on one side our problems and obstacles, and on the other side our solutions, our goals and outcomes. And we had to carry our problems with us wherever we went, really wherever we went. It made it very heavy. At the end of the first week, we had our breakthrough number 1, which was literally, I took my board outside and I put it on the 2 cinder blocks and I had to break it with my hand. Now, the rain, it was pouring rain. The wind was howling. I live on the 10th floor, so it's even worse. The rain was hitting my laptop and I realized my batteries are completely drained. And guess what? I could not break it. The harder I tried, the worse it got. And my coach let me do it a couple of times and he said, stop, Marina. You're now not resourceful any longer. You're emotional. Stop. I'll get back to you in a moment. Cool down, calm down, and we'll do it again. I changed conditions, flexible, adaptable, and creative. So I took my laptop inside, plugged it in. I turned the cinder blocks the other way. And of course, inside it stopped raining and there was no wind. I changed my clothing. I put on my workout clothes. And guess what? Boom! I broke it with my foot. Nobody said I had to do it with my hand. I just made it a little bit harder for myself. And that's when you're coming from your resourceful state, you can have a breakthrough and you can break through any obstacle because you're in your best state. As I said, let's look why this is a problem. And here's what I want you to do. Instead of me telling you, I want you to experience this. So what I'd like you to do is close your eyes. And I'd like you to go back to a moment when perhaps someone triggered you. You were ticked off, angry, furious, what have you. Perhaps you were fearful, anxious. Just imagine this image, allow that image to come up in front of you. And now I'd like you to be the observer. Look at the colors of this image. Are the colors bright or dark? Is it blurry or focused? Is it near or far? What are the sounds of this image that you've pulled up? And now, what are the feelings? Where do you feel that as you remember that time, as if it were right now? Where do you feel that in your body? How does that feel? And now, lastly, observe your physiology, observe your facial expression, perhaps even your color, your gestures. Look at that. That's the state of not being resourceful, the emotional state. Now, what I'd like you to do is open your eyes, shake it out, clear the screen, close your eyes again. And what I'd like you to do is remember a time when you felt at the top of your game, really incredibly empowered and feeling amazing, happy, excited, thrilled, confident, competent, whatever. Allow that image to come up in front of you. And now, see what you see. What are the colors like? Are they bright or are they dim? Is the image clear? What are the sounds like? And now, pay attention to that feeling in your body. Where is it coming from? What does it feel like? And now look at yourself, look at you on that screen and see the way you stand or sit. I don't know what you're seeing, but observe your physiology, observe your gestures, see how you hold your shoulders, check out the color of your skin and the brightness and the lightness of you. That's the state when you are in your most resourceful. You can see it, the way you hold your body. And by the way, when you hold your body like that, when you are standing tall and strong, your shoulders relaxed, your physiology forces your psychology to follow suit. They work hand in hand. Imagine that. Come on out. You can open your eyes if you haven't done so already. The problem is when you're stuck. When you are stuck, you are in your reactive emotional state. Now, instead of getting the help from within, from your own resources, you are working on diminished resources, diminished energies in your body. You are no longer working from your highest levels And instead of going towards the solution, you're most likely going away from, you're starting to be avoidant, anxious, fearful. You are becoming almost, I would say, your own worst enemy and adversary instead of your best supporter, your cheerleader. And what happens is you start being in your head and going, spinning that negative movie round and round. And when you're in your head, you're dead. When you start spinning old stories, past stories that no longer serve you, you are in your reactive state. And the problem becomes even worse if you don't even realize that you are doing that you are stuck in the old story, in the pain, in the problem. Furthermore, what happens is by you repeating it, guess what you're doing? You're deepening the rut in your head. You are conditioning your neural pathways more and more. So you're really, really digging it. And you may try harder and push, more force, pushing harder. And with every time you do it, you fail even more. The problem gets worse because, as I said, you're trying harder. And the harder you try, the more you'll fail. Hard and trying are not really things that, first of all, they're not sparking that light in you, but they feel hard and heavy. Now, you also, as I said, conditioning, you're putting your alarm set on hypersensitive. It keeps ringing. So the slightest thing is alarming you, bringing you right back there because that's your familiar place now. So what happens is that you're conditioning yourself over and over again. And you are also depleting yourself. You're letting go of your resources, and therefore you're entering depressed, low energetic states. And in the end, you have a tendency to just call it a day and simply give up. Your vocabulary shifts. You start saying, I must do this, I should, I can't, it's impossible. And it feels hard and heavy. It feels dead inside of you. What this emotional state does to you, which is the fear, the panic, the stress and anxiety states, what they do is they overestimate the danger. They feed this part, the danger part, and therefore, as there's only so much here, they're depleting your internal resources. So it's very much like a bully. We may believe that if we appease a bully, that the bully will go away. The bully will only become more empowered. And so it is with your perceived threat. You may believe that if you avoid this and withdraw away from, that you find relief and you will strengthen yourself. The opposite happens because now you have given more to the fear and it is becoming even more difficult for you to overcome it. When you train a dog with electric fences, in this case, this is, let's imagine, this little puppy had an electric wire, and every time the poor thing put its nose there, it got zapped. When you get zapped over and over and over again, you can leave the cage open. You've been conditioned that there is no hope, that you cannot escape, that all is lost. And that's what will happen when you operate continuously from that emotional state, just like this puppy, completely resigned to its fate. Hopelessness and helplessness, which are learned states, they are not your states. You can't change them. Another problem is, and this is a biggie, that you're undermining your health and well-being. You're undermining your relationships, your income, your career, obviously, because we started talking about that to begin with. You're undermining your spirituality. You're undermining your community life. You're undermining every joy you have in your life. That's a big problem. And here are 4 more critical impacts that this behavior, this emotional reactive state does to you. You will have inconsistent results. Your performance becomes unpredictable. Clients, colleagues, family members, team members, they never know which one of you is going to show up, the one that just got triggered or the resourceful one. You damage your relationships. You get a text or an email and something in you triggers and you, boom, you write that nasty response that a second later you regret and you go, oh dear, why did I? But it's too late, it's gone. It affects every aspect of your life. Stress amplification, as I just said, what you're doing, you are constantly in the fight, flight, or freeze system. You're exhausted. Your body thinks it's under attack 24/7 and it's flooding you with cortisol and adrenaline. It is unsustainable, exhausting, and it actively degrades your cognitive performance because you're only operating from here. And it limits your potential ceiling. Reactive responses limit you. They are limiting because you cannot operate fully. You cannot access your intelligence, your creativity, your leadership. It is limited. It's like you're running your car, which is a high performance engine with a low grade fuel. I don't think it's going to work very well. So why is it critical to solve this? Well, high performers, elite athletes have mastered this one thing. That's the ability to choose rather than to be controlled by their reactions. Your ability to respond is the foundation of your leadership effectiveness. It's not only that leaders have great ideas and that they lead, but it's that they're staying calm in the midst of a storm. They're the eye in the storm, and everybody can lean in on them and actually get that support from that person because they are staying calm. There is the relationship quality. The depth of your relationship is directly proportional to your ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally. Every conversation you have is either building connection or creating distance. Career trajectory. Those who rise fastest are not necessarily the smartest or most talented. They are the ones with the highest emotional EQs, emotionally reliable. They listen to others and not already think of their responses. They connect with people at their heart level. They have empathy. They have human skills. And by the way, in our age of AI, the new evolution and revolution of AI, if you're not working on amplifying and up-leveling your internal systems, AI is going to obsolete us. I don't know if there's such a word, but that will happen. So you need to work on your humanness, on your human skills, so that you can never be replaced. You will never will be replaced. And furthermore, there is the personal fulfillment. When you're reactive, you're not living your life to the fullest. You are living in your circumstances. You are the victim of your circumstances. You have not taken ownership. Like me, for one brief moment with that board, I said, maybe it's the board. And when I said it, I knew, ooh, that was the wrong thing to say, because it's never the board. It's me. It was me. I was reactive. And my coach said, Marina, I said, oh, never mind. I know I can do it. And so I did. So there it is. So personal fulfillment is when you are in your calm state, when you understand what brings you joy and happiness. And when you operate from that system. That also means, by the way, that you need to know your values. You need to understand what makes you tick, that brings you into this calm state. There is your power. I promised you data points. Here we go. The self-regulation advantage. Talent SMART studies are referenced often in the Harvard Business Review. And they found that 90% of top performers have high emotional intelligence. Now, this is not a single skill, but rather a set of competencies. You're also not born with it. You learn these things, learned qualities. You have the ability to control disruptive emotions and impulses. And the key component of this is emotional self-control. Key component is the one who is most adaptable, most flexible, has a positive outlook, can connect with others, and is oriented towards achievement. Those are the self-regulating advantages. The pause that pays. I told you there was a moment in my story where I had to pause. Recently, a neighbor called me. Actually, recently, it was Sunday. She called me, Marina, help. My blood pressure is through the roof. I need to calm down. I have a procedure coming up. If I can't get this done, it is going to really be a real big problem. I went over. And I taught her a few things, and some of them I'm going to teach you in a moment. And you know, her blood pressure had been at 200. She was given medication that made it worse. I taught her those things, and she called me yesterday. She said, guess what? I was at 140/80. It was just perfect. My procedure worked. So there you go. Here is the pause. Even the slightest delay, 10 to 20 seconds. Additionally, I suggest close your eyes, because that creates a pattern interrupt. Pattern interrupt, you stop it, say to yourself, release, release, release. You're releasing your tension. And when you're calm, with a breathing technique that I'll show you in a moment, you can set intentions. That is not magic, it's biology, because you're accessing your parasympathetic system and you're taking your control back to rest and relaxation, calm, which is superior. As I taught one of my students, the calmer you stay, the better you play. It's the pause. The self-awareness premium. Well, according to this research, it states that people who have this self-awareness, who are operating out of their EQ, earn an average of $29,000 more annually. And with every increase in your EQ, you're adding an additional $1,300 to an annual salary. That's what this study claims. So there you go. So those are the data points that support that calm beats frenzy. It always beats frenzy, because when you're frenzied, you're out there. When you're calm, you're within you. You're activating and using your inner resources. 3 sub-problems to your performance leaks. These are important because they are, again, going back to the original problem, which is emotional, for example, emotional hijacking. This is a moment when you're operating from anger, frustration, or fear. And when they take over and you're doing things and saying things that you actually really didn't want to do or say. Imagine you're getting, someone is criticizing you, or you think they're criticizing you, and you are lashing out at them, sending a nasty response back as an email. And 2 hours later, you're going, dear goodness gracious, why did I do that? Here, where you operated from emotional hijacking, is that your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, literally shut down your prefrontal cortex, your CEO brain, as it perceived it as a threat. And you lost your best thinking temporarily. The trigger blindness is really important as well, because very often you don't even know what's triggering you. You know that certain things set you off, but you don't know where they're coming from and what it is. You notice that in meetings, something is said, you feel under attack. It may be real, it may not, but it keeps triggering you. And when you are being triggered, you are, again, not at your best. It's like playing performance roulette. You never know when you are going to be hijacked and you're losing it. The recovery lag is something triggered you, someone cut you off in the morning in traffic, and hours later, you're still ticked off about that. You're still spinning that movie in your head and going, damn you, that you cut me off. It's not only that split second, you've lost the day. But worse than that is you are now over in this activated state and everything triggers you. And unless you take it consciously down, you're going to stay there and you're going to be activated, and not to mention exhausted, depleted, and not optimal. Let me share you the techniques with you. All right, the stop technique. This is what I call a pattern interrupt. You need to stop this. So stop, stop, stop. Take a breath, observe, and proceed with intention. So you notice that something's off. You know your body. You know that your heart rate is up. You may not be able to see straight. You have tension in your shoulders. You're holding your breath. You're feeling it. So I suggest you stop it. I sometimes, when people don't see it, I hit myself over the head. Something's got to snap. Stop. And then don't speak. Pause. Take a deep breath. Here's what you do. Not any breath. You take a breath through your nose and see that you have your tongue touching the upper teeth, behind the teeth. Through the nose to a count of 4, hold to a count of 2, and then exhale through the mouth to a count of 7, and relax your tongue. Let it rest on your lower teeth, behind your lower teeth. Do this a few times until you access your parasympathetic system. Ask yourself, become curious about what you're experiencing. I'm feeling defensive right now because what triggered you? Try to figure it out. Anger, because proceed with intention. Given what I want here, what's my best response? As I asked you to do with the first opening story, what would be a better response, or a good response, because I didn't give you a response, to the original reaction. And practice this for the next 24 hours. It is the breath and the stopping. But now, let me show you what you can add to that one. Focus on what you'd rather have or experience. And that's what I showed my neighbor. I taught her the breath. And then I asked her, instead of running on this fear image of what if it doesn't work, this procedure, what if her blood pressure goes through the roof, I said, come on, imagine either a time when you were really happy, as I showed you earlier. So make that image bigger, close your eyes, bring that up on the screen, make that image bigger, bolder, brighter, the sounds even better, and that feeling, let it go through the roof, okay? Then imagine you stepping into that you on the screen, and now you see through your eyes, you hear through your ears, and you feel what you feel. Now, double that feeling, double that feeling, double that feeling. And just before you're at the peak, the height of this amazing, fabulous feeling, I'd like you to anchor it. What you can do is either you take 2 fingers and do your index knuckle on the non-active hand to anchor this feeling, or you can put the hand on your chest like that, or a power move. That's how you anchor this into your unconscious mind, so that next time you need it, you bring it back up and anchor it again. Do this many times, and you will instantly be able to bring up this resourceful state, the going towards something. That is peak performance. That is a small aspect of what you can do to get into a peak performance state. And instead of the away from, being in that fear, which is an away from, avoidance, oh dear, neglect, dissatisfaction. As I'm talking about it, I can feel my chest tensing, and the forward is opening up, is with excitement, with energy, with attention, with joy and humility, an open-mindedness. That's what I'd like you to focus on to help getting you into your responsive state. Encouragement is your natural capacity. Everything is already within you. You have that superpower in you already. You are here because something in you is awakening. And this something wants to be acknowledged. Everybody has this resourceful state. Yet, when you become aware of it, you can amplify it, you can kick it up, you can improve it and make it even better. That's your power. And that is something no AI can ever take from you. We all have had bad moments in our lives, and they are the moments that will take you. Those are the stepping stones that will get you to the other side. Imagine that those are your stepping stones. Let me see who has their volume. No, actually no one. Never mind. All right. These are my new certifications. I'm actually at a master level. I'm going to be receiving my diplomas next week. I decided to immerse myself in new learning, new understanding. As I was in my breakthrough program, the second breakthrough, the first was the board, the second was I did an 8-hour breakthrough session with my client, a fellow student, and he gave me my breakthrough. And before that, I went through my values. And guess what? The one value I forgot in my assessment of my business. And it felt like wood. It felt so awkward. It was, guess what? It was happiness. I forgot happiness and joy. And as my coach said to me, I guess your GPS wasn't working very well. And I had to laugh. No, it really wasn't. So in my breakthrough, I gave a breakthrough to my client, and I used the timeline therapy. I have to tell you, I have rarely worked with a more powerful technique ever. I do not wish to divulge any information about my client, but it was a breakthrough. It was amazing. I just like to leave it there. So what I also observed is that there is an absolute benefit by working with a guide. I am working with two coaches right now, the coach with my learning program, and then a business coach. I observe that smart people work with coaches. Their coaches work with coaches, and their coaches, I think you're getting the picture. They're working with coaches. And you know why that is? I'll tell you in a moment. Because we can't see what we can't see, and we don't know what we don't know. That's exactly right. You can't see your blind spots. You can't know the things that you don't know. I cannot see the shadows. I can't hear myself talk. I don't know. And that's why it is important to work with someone who can guide you, because smart people know that when you work with a guide or a coach, you get there faster and you go farther. Time is a huge element, and so time is money. So you're really getting there faster. In 4 weeks, I have to tell you, I found my experience life-altering. And it's important if you want to grow. That is only, of course, if you want to grow and become your best self. We are finding ourselves in a time, the evolution and revolution that AI is bringing with us. Most of us will have to adapt to this new reality. And it's not only adapting, it is seeing that there are huge possibilities and potential in it, not the taking away. If you remember the dot-com bubble, the apps, all of those, yes, there were jobs taken away and huge jobs created for those who were creative and saw the opportunity. But you can't see it if you're in your reactive state. You may believe that you must start with your career first. Many people do that, and they think that then they can work on themselves. Here's what I'd like to share with you. That's putting the cart before the horse. If you think that by having a most gorgeous, fantastic product out there without working on yourself, I have to tell you, I have to ask you to think about that again, because you are your products, you are your business. And if you don't up level and upgrade yourself, it affects your business. Start with yourself. Master yourself to tap into your potential, into your inner resources. The fact that you got into this workshop and that you made it to this point tells me that you're ready to find what's within you, that you're ready to be challenged and to grow. It's not by coincidence. I found these courses not by coincidence. I knew I was guided. I didn't know how much it would be challenging me. They started at 4 a.m. and they were for about 12 hours a day. Let me tell you, I was challenged and I came out on a high. Personal mastery is always before professional mastery, which doesn't mean that you don't need to up-level your competencies, but the competency in yourself, mastering yourself. Because if you're only working on building confidence without competence, that's like working on your fluff. That's not real. You need to work on mastering yourself which means being competent with your resources, with who you are, to upgrade your model, your internal systems. We upgrade our phones all the time, our computers. There's a constant update. It never stops, does it? This morning, I was challenged by reading "Nothing changes if nothing changes," and I vehemently disagree. Absolutely, everything changes. The real question is it by design or by default? I don't like when changes happen by default, because then I am not in control of those changes. Yes, I can't control the weather. I can't control the economy. I can't control politics. Absolutely not. But I can control my state, and so can you. It is learned. And I have a tendency to be, I don't think anxious, but nervous. I can be a nervous person. I could learn it, and so can you. You have a choice. Do you want to repeat or evolve? That is always the question. Repeating means being stuck in the past, in past pain and familiarity. It's not in comfort. We call it staying in our comfort zone, but it's not comfortable at all. When the universe has knocked on your head and said, hello, it's time to upgrade, things will break down if you don't pay attention to that, and you pay with pain. Instead of being a victim and looking for someone to fix it and wondering, what if it doesn't work? Evolving means that you are leaning into the future. You're open, flexible. You're seeing possibilities. You're being a possibilitarian. You ask yourself, what if it does work? What if this is a new way? Upgrading is always the way to go. Past is being stuck if you repeat those patterns over and over and over again. Future, up-leveling yourself, working with your emotional, your EQ, being adaptable, flexible, and raising your consciousness to where your nervous system is, working with your resilience and your resources. How do you get where you want to be? Well, it's about rewiring, regulating, and redefining yourself. It's mastering your craft, reconnecting to that spark within, the happiness and the joy, and mastering, lastly, your business. It's an easy decision. And here's what I've got for you. I told you that I would share this with you. First of all, I want to give you a few bonuses if you take me up on my offer. One of them is my recording of From Chaos to Calm. I worked with a client and she was beside herself, like my neighbor upstairs, in this absolute frenzy of her mind. And I taught her a couple of techniques, so I decided that I make a recording. I want to give that to you. It's the From Chaos to Calm. Then I want to give you my Wellness Without Worry ebook. It gives you tools and techniques where you can help to lower your anxiety and be in a state of peace, calm, and resourcefulness. I want to give these to you because I want you to shift from reactive to responsive, to change your vocabulary from I can't, it's hard, and impossible to possible, it's possible, I can, I will, I am. You're here for a reason, and the reason is that the changes, the awakening, have already begun. And now you have a choice if you want to do it now or later. Here's what I've got for you. Ready to hear more? So, I have, starting October 15th, a high performance group membership program. It's $97 per month, but since this is starting in the middle of the month, I will make it for the month of October $47. I have a Get Instant Relief single session at 2.5 hours. I have a 3-month peak performance coaching program, or 30 days to your personal breakthrough, a personal breakthrough day, which I will hold on Saturdays, and a personal growth coaching with positive psychology, timeline therapy, NLP, hypnotherapy. And the next one that I'm adding on is neurosomatic dynamics, which is going to bring even better results. High performance is I work currently with athletes, speakers, entrepreneurs, artists, lawyers, coaches, professionals, people who want to make a difference in the world, people who know that right now something is not quite working optimally. Sometimes it's even broken, and they'd like to explore something different, see if they change, when they change their reactive to responsive, what they can do. This is for 2 hours, a 2-hour session weekly for $97 a month. And for October, it's only $47. It's an easy decision. So here's what I invite you to do. And I will put this in the chat right now. I will put this in the chat. Of course, it's gone. I don't know where it is. All right, I will give it to you in a moment. Book your session, your free 40-minute session with me, whether you want to speak about the group coaching or whether you want to speak about any other group coaching program or not. Frankly, here's what we're doing. Here's how I structure these 40 minutes. I ask you a few questions about where you're at right now. I will assess and I will give you advice how you can instantly turn this around, something that you can do that you find instant relief. If then you choose to talk to me about working with me, that's up to you. If you don't, it's absolutely okay. This is not a sales call in disguise, but absolutely we can talk about which program, if any, work for you, because that's absolutely up to you. And now, what else have I got? This is really all I've got for you for tonight. And here, let me see if I have my information for you. Let me paste it again. And here it is. So you can hop on my calendar with, it's in there at marina.coach/apply. Get on my calendar, book it now. Don't wait, don't hesitate. Do it now, because here's what happens. You're going to talk yourself out of it. You're going to say, I don't need that. It's okay. I can swing it. This is something, I'm not putting the gun to your head. So, furthermore, the program, the high performance program, it's a monthly membership. If it's not good for you, you drop out. There is no contract. You're not forced into a lifelong membership program. If it's not working, no hard feelings. But this program is a program where we are going to work on your values, your focus, your clarity. I'm going to help you first and foremost to get into alignment with where you're at. Because if you don't know what you want, and if you don't know where you're at, it's very difficult to help you get wherever that is. So that's the intention of this program. Then we will have breakout rooms. You will work with one another. And yes, you're going to have a community where you will support one another. Because here's the thing. My purpose in life is to make a difference, to help other people. And I know that most people share this. There is no greater joy in helping others. But when you are in a state that you can't even help yourself because you're in this reactive state, there's not much change you can bring to others. That's why I have created this. And so now personally, I think I have talked enough, and I absolutely invite you, I will turn the recording off, and I invite you to, here, recording